From Egyptians to Babylonians to Greeks, astronomy has been a science that has fascinated mankind to an infinite end. Now, in the modern age, using physics and mathematics, we've put to rest certain age-old debates. One such age-old debate, which lasted 2,000 years, was the fight between the geocentric model and the heliocentric model. And relatively speaking, the heliocentric model was only declared the winner a very short time ago. My name is Hypastraea, and I'm going to be discussing the history of the heliocentric theory. Fully developed heliocentric model was developed in the 3rd century BC by the ancient Greek astronomer and mathematician Aristarchus of Samios. However, Ptolemy's geocentric model, illustrated in his work The Almagest, was the simple mathematical answer to a question no one could 100% prove. Despite that fact, throughout medieval history there were plenty of astronomers questioning Ptolemy's geocentric model and stating either that they could better it or that they would adopt the heliocentric model proposed by Aristarchus of Samios, such as, for example, Nicholas Copernicus. Prior to Copernicus, however, there had already been great astronomical and mathematical strides made in India and in the Islamic world. In his self-entitled work, Aryabhata, who was an Indian mathematician and astronomer, argued that the Earth was the one that moved and not the stars. He also accurately calculated the Earth's movement, the planetary movements, and solar movements, and also gave a scientific answer as to why lunar eclipses happen. His text, or his work, was passed down to other Indian mathematicians and astronomers so that way they could continue building off his work and come to a closer conclusion as to what we know today to be the truth. In the Islamic Golden Age, there were a number of astronomers who questioned Ptolemy's work, but generally accepted the mathematics in his geocentric model. However, that doesn't mean that they fully accepted the geocentric model as being the be-all, end-all of the universe, or the supposed universe by their standards at that time. There were astronomers who were starting to question whether the sun was actually in the center of the universe. And one such astronomer was Ahu Ryan Bruni, who wrote about the geocentric model but suggested that the universe was a heliocentric universe that had the Earth rotating on its axis circling the sun. Eventually, the Maraghi Observatory was established in Iran, and there they discussed non-Ptolemaic theories such as the heliocentric model, but eventually they generated the model closely resembling the Tychonic system, which is where the planets orbit the sun, but the sun orbits the Earth. The Maraghi Observatory is still considered a very prestigious observatory, and it exerted quite a heavy influence in European astronomy with their mathematical devices, including the Two-Sea couple, and it exerted quite a heavy influence particularly on Nicholas Copernicus. Copernicus used Arabic sources, including one by Ibn al-Shatir, who replaced the equant with 2 epicycles in his work Commentarialis. He was also strongly influenced by George von Perobach, who was a member of the Vienna School of Astronomy, which by 1476 had developed a detailed account of the heliocentric theory. The reason why Copernicus is credited with the heliocentric theory, though, is because he was the first one to publish the heliocentric theory in his book De Revolutionibus Orbium Celestium. It took the theory from just being a thought or a suggestion to a possibility within predictive geometrical astronomy. But what no one considered was what the Bible said. The Bible said that the Earth doesn't move and that the sun goes up and down, not to mention what it says about the sphericity of the Earth. It's not a sphere. It has 4 corners. Martin Luther called Copernicus an attention whore, basically, and John Calvin called his theory a perversion of nature. So, when Tycho Brahe came onto the scene, suggesting that maybe the planets move around the sun and that the sun moves around the Earth, everyone was a lot more pleased because that means everything's still in place. The Earth doesn't move and the sun revolves around the Earth. But Galileo Galilei, a true badass astronomer, struck fear into the Roman Catholic Church by promoting the heliocentric theory via his observations which he made with his telescope. He promoted the heliocentric theory so much that the Roman Catholic Church was fearing that they were going to lose power over the people and that the scriptures were going to be proven false. As a result, Copernicism was actually banned when all of the works Galileo was publishing started to actually generate influence within the community, and they encouraged the Tychonic system, the one where the planets circle the sun and the sun circles the Earth, instead of the heliocentric theory, and bashed the heliocentric theory as being foolish and evil. They even cited 18 mathematical sources to prove the heliocentric theory wrong, which they probably got off Tumblr. But Galileo didn't pay attention to the haters. When he did, he basically called the Pope stupid during the Inquisition. I don't know about you, but I think I'm gonna start proposing a theory that during that time, the Earth, the planets, the moon, everything, just circled around the gravity of this man's. Towards the end of his life, though, he was forced to recant his works. But it is said that when he turned around, he actually said, "and yet it moves," just so he can put a little bit of a salt onto the fact that they just forced him to recant the truth. During Galileo's time, though, Kepler also came up with his laws of planetary motion. Descartes published, or rather almost published, his scientific works on the world, which were based on the heliocentric theory. Bernard Le Bourret de Fontenelle published his work, Conversations on the Plurality of the World, which was a great popularizer of science in his time. And Newton published the Principia, which expanded on Kepler's laws involving universal gravitation and created his own laws of motion. And Newton also expanded on the heliocentric model, stating that though the Earth revolves around the Sun isn't the center of the supposed universe, that it actually is a center of gravity that is truly at rest, because the Sun is also revolving around its own point of gravity. Even during Newton's time, though, the Catholic Church was still doing their best to dissuade the heliocentric theory from becoming fact. However, when the Principia was published, they couldn't really do that anymore. Since then, astronomers have been standing on the shoulders of giants, to quote Isaac Newton, and further developing the heliocentric theory and model.